Rest. It's a word we crave, but rarely practice. And what if rest doesn't look like a hammock and a nap, but 300 miles through mud, blisters, silence, and surrender? Today's episode is a special one, not just because of the topic, but because of who's sitting across from me. My brother Troy, my built-in best friend, adventure buddy, and biggest cheerleader, is joining me for a conversation about his journey hiking the entire Superior Hiking Trail, all 300 miles of it. We're unpacking what rest really means, why we resist it, why the world frowns upon it, and how Jesus invites us to experience it differently. Because maybe rest isn't about stopping, but about walking with intention, 1 mile, 1 moment, 1 breath at a time. Hey friend, welcome to the Between the Pages podcast, where we explore navigating life's peaks and valleys with bold faith. Join us bi-weekly as we dive into meaningful conversations with guests, team members, and community leaders. Together, we'll tackle topics that challenge and encourage, helping you live out your faith between the pages of everyday life. Friends, welcome to the Between the Pages podcast. I am so excited you are here because it is a very special episode. We are season 4, episode 3, and my brother, Troy, finally decided to enter the group chat and join us for a podcast episode.
I know, I went a little dark for like 3.5 weeks there. No group chats, but
yeah.
What a way to come back.
Well, y'all are going to catch in on what that all means because he is not even, you're like fresh off the Superior Hiking Trail by like not even 24 hours.
I know. I finished late last night racing the sun to get it done.
Could you imagine? It's like nighttime and you're like, we're going to go for it.
And last night was like the first frost. The temperature just dropped as soon as the sun went down. So we had to get out of there. We had to get out of there.
Because you all didn't have your like camping stuff.
No, we were packed light. We were racing down that trail. But yeah, you know what's messed up? My legs actually feel fine today and kind of want to hike because that's just what they've been doing.
That's weird. You're weird. Well, that's my brother for y'all people.
Yep.
He's a strange man. But Troy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So excited you're here. Like people heard earlier, you were like my built-in best friend and an adventure buddy, even though you're the one that takes all the adventures. And I'm like, I will cheer you on from the sideline.
That's true. Well, I the adventure I went on is not for everyone. So.
It is not, but it is a lot of time to spend thinking about resting and maybe actively resting. I don't know if I personally would consider hiking rest, but we'll dive into
we
lot
will.
of that.
I have certain thoughts because you prompted me before I even left. You're like, think about rest. And I was like, okay, I will. And I have thoughts. Here
we are. Well, before we dive in, just to give the people an insight to who you are, what you do, maybe how much you love me. I don't know. Why don't
sing your praises?
Yeah. Tell
Rebecca's
everyone how great I am.
Perfect big sister. She always has been.
Perfect. Mom and Dad, I hope you're listening.
You've been pretty all right as a big sister. Yeah, my name's Troy Martin. I grew up with this one. She's
Guilty.
The reason I went to speech therapy because we had our own little secret language until I was 3 and my parents could never figure out what I wanted, but she could.
You just didn't
no
talk.
need for English.
I talked for you.
No need for English. But then I figured it out eventually. I studied computer science in college. I'm a software engineer now. I grew up in the Boy Scouts, which is kind of where my whole love for the outdoors and the SHT started. The SHT stands for Superior Hiking Trail. It's a trail that's about 300 miles long that goes from the Canadian border to the Wisconsin border just south of Duluth. So it kind of follows the north shore of Lake Superior. And
Do you have a fun fact other than the fact you didn't talk until you were 3 years old?
The fun fact I always go with is I have gone through every single special feature on the bonus feature disc of National Treasure 2. I've gone through every single special feature on the bonus feature disc of National Treasure 2.
Was there anything like exciting about that?
No, it was great because they had the little disc thing. This was a DVD, and this was on a road trip we went on when we were younger. Because we would always have the little like seat mounted video things. It had a little pamphlet that had all these codes and stuff in like 3 different phases. But you had to watch through all the special features in order to get the bits of the code and figure it out. And I loved spy stuff and ciphers and everything. And so I did all of it.
Why did I not know this?
Because you were watching like some other movie.
Yeah. Probably Princess Diaries. That's weird.
Or we probably watched National Treasure too. And then you were like, I'm done with movies. And I'm like, but there's the codes. There's the codes. I need to find out what it says.
Well, that is a perfect tie-in because I feel like oftentimes in life, we are just trying to figure out what is the code.
True.
What is the... See, that was a good tie-in.
That was a good tie-in.
That was pretty good. That was off script. But I feel like especially this season, as we're deconstructing Christian buzzwords, we're trying to figure out like, what does this stuff mean? Like when someone says rest or when people tell us to rest, like what does that mean? Because the world says one thing. Jesus and the scripture tells us another thing. And oftentimes rest in today's world can look like laziness or being unproductive. Very guilty of that. I took a rest day on Saturday, and I was telling this of me 100%. I literally Saturday, all I did was I watched 2 movies and I took an hour nap.
Good for you. I'm proud of you.
Yes,
that's huge for you.
It was a very big step for me. However, I was fighting that feeling of being unproductive and being lazy. Mm-hmm. But my body was like, I just need to like chill out for a second. But before we kind of dive into rest, because like you said, I did prompt you saying you're going to be on an episode about rest because what you just did, not a lot of people do. Not a lot of people are like, let me take 3.5 weeks off of work, use my PTO to go hike a trail that's 300 miles long in the middle of September into October.
Yeah.
Like that's a little wild. So
it is a little wild, but I've wanted to do it for a long time because, like I said, I've hiked a lot of different parts of it on the weekends, and so I've always wanted to like through hike the entire thing in one go.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about why you wanted to do it and kind of what was that mental preparation as you were about to head on to the trail like a month ago.
Yeah, I think a lot of it came from a nostalgia for the trail. I've been on different parts of it a lot, and it was very fun to get back to the parts that I recognize, especially this one campsite on Sanju Lake that my Boy Scout troop and I would go to all the time. It has a little island there, and it's fantastic. I think a lot of it was nostalgia. A lot of it, too, was it kind of felt like almost like a thesis statement for like all of my like outdoorsiness. Like I identify as an outdoorsy person. I like hiking, canoeing, camping, and whatever. I really wanted to do something that was like adventurous. It was kind of the same feeling as when I ran the marathon a couple years ago.
Y'all, if you want to know something about this guy, he's like he full sends whatever he wants to do. We're different, same but different. You're like, I'm gonna go run 26.2 miles. I'm like, I'll start a business.
Yeah,
because that does not sound fun to run 26 miles nonstop.
Yeah, and it was something that I wasn't kind of like naturally. I had ran a bit in high school and whatever, but I was not like naturally a super good athlete, so I had to really work at it. And so the through hike like felt something like I was a bit more natural at, but was just like such a big step. Mm-hmm. And oddly, I kind of trivialized it in the lead up because I was doing so much research, and a lot of the research is about like the Appalachian Trail, which is like 2,600 miles instead of 300. And so for me, I was looking at this stuff and I'm like, oh, well, I'm just doing 300 miles. Mm. Nothing compared to the Appalachian Trail,
right?
Which, however true, 300 miles is still a long way.
It's still
hike.
Like here to the like cities and back.
Yeah. So there was a lot of, and like the preparation actually was like kind of for a full year before leading up to it, like getting the gear, figuring out the itinerary, figuring out like how we were going to like get food along the way. 'Cause you don't want to carry 3 weeks worth of food on your back. That's just not realistic, way too heavy. We were even complaining about carrying 5 days of food on our back. Just because every ounce and pound really matters a lot more when you're hiking that far. But yeah, so the lead up, it really didn't feel real in the first month beforehand. I did it with a friend, by the way. So it was two of us.
He was not alone. Alone.
Correct. I was not alone. I had a friend with me, which will play into my thoughts on rest in a bit. But
dun, dun, dun.
But yeah, I think oddly I kind of trivialized it in my mind a little bit because it was easy to conceptualize going into it. And I had all of these experiences before that I was drawing from. And also it was very stressful because I was having a very stressful time at work trying to wrap everything up. There was a lot going on that I was trying to wrap up before I left work for a month, and that felt like a big deal. And so I was very kind of distracted beforehand, and then all of a sudden I was in the middle of the woods. So
literally in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
How did people react in your circles or your church community or even work? How do people react when you're I'm going to be gone for a month and I'm going to go hike? What was kind of that response?
Yeah.
And did it kind of change maybe your excitement level to leave and do this hike?
I think pretty much everyone was pretty pumped for me. They thought it was super cool. I don't think they could really conceptualize it in a way, just because people talk about running marathons and stuff all the time. So people can be like, oh, that's really hard, I couldn't do it. But I can at least understand what that means. Whereas hiking 300 miles, people don't really know what that means. What does that entail?
Right.
To hike 300 miles? They just don't, they have less of a clear understanding of it. So they're just kind of that's incredible. I can't even begin to comprehend.
They're it sounds like you're about to go on vacation.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be so great and awesome. And so yeah, I think it did kind of pump me up a little bit, but it did kind of feel the only people that understand are the people posting about it online on the blogs and stuff that I'm reading to prepare. There wasn't really anybody around me that really knew
what you were about to go through.
What I was about to do, yeah.
Was there any part in your preparation mentally or even spiritually too that did you expect this journey to be restful or be challenging or maybe a little bit of both? The beforehand stuff was definitely the challenging of figuring out, how are we going to pack food? What's our equipment that we need to do? Doing a prep hike, doing the research, they're figuring out what work's going to do. That's challenging in and of itself. But did you expect the hike and that journey that you were about to go on to be restful and or challenging?
Yeah. I think I knew it would be challenging. I did not understand in what ways it would be challenging for me. I certainly hoped that it would be restful. I remember telling the guys in my small group that I wasn't doing it as a sabbatical, but I hoped that it would be sabbatical-like, because we tend to love the idea, spiritual retreat, sabbatical, which is for people in ministry is an intentional, time off of ministry work to spend time with God and do other things that they
usually
don't normally
spend time
get to
with
do.
family.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I want to do that. And it didn't really turn out that way. A little bit, but again, in ways that I didn't think ahead of time. I was oh, I'll be able to read my Bible a lot. And I didn't really, because it was on my phone. That's not necessarily natural for me to read on my phone. And also just I'm hiking the whole day. I don't actually have a lot of downtime because it's either hiking, setting up or tearing down camp or sleeping. And that's all I'm doing. So, so definitely didn't turn out. I was definitely hoping for rest, thinking about rest. Got rest in certain ways and definitely didn't in others. But yeah, nothing was really as I thought it would be.
Before we kind of dive into how your experience, like you had kind of mentioned, like it was restful in some ways, not necessarily in others, like just a lot of thoughts. Like I remember probably a week or so into the, like maybe 10 days into the trip, you were FaceTiming the family and just talking about like all of these, even like mental challenges that you had to go through too, especially that first 10 days. But before we dive into that, you know, baselining rest, you having grown up in the church, being involved in campus ministries throughout, you know, high school, college, even a little bit post-college and doing missions in France. Y'all, that's another story. This guy's like, I'm going to ship myself off to France in the middle of COVID. And, you know, I got a trip to France out of it to
That's
go visit
true.
him. But I was like, man, here's all over the world. How, growing up, how would you define rest? Like not maybe rest how you define it now after this experience, but maybe beforehand.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, number one, we always think of the word Sabbath when we think of rest, I think. And if I had to say what historically I've thought rest was, it was time off and doing things I enjoy, like me time, right? Or like free time.
Self-care.
Yeah, I like a little bit of that. I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a kind of cultural phenomenon lately is like the rise of self-care. I think particularly COVID really kind of spiked that, right? Like the whole self-care scene really spiked during COVID. And I think, and we can go into it later too, it's funny. I have a couple friends who are actually kind of nostalgic for COVID times. I think because they found it easier to find rest.
Interesting.
During COVID.
But I relate to that.
Yeah.
I feel like it was like the whole world stopped.
Yes. And that is a big part of it that I want to get into later. But yeah, so I think it was kind of like, but like my idea of it growing up was more like vacation and like, you know, doing fun things to like, you know, give myself a break, or like, you know, the idea of like, oh, well, Sunday is church and kind of Sabbathy or
Active
whatever.
resting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. You know, taking kind of the initial thoughts and pre-experience that you had walking this trail, this SHT. In the beginning parts, what did kind of more, because I know your average day changed a little bit as you got more closer to town, but what was like your average day look like in the day in the life on the trail? And how was your evolution of rest and solitude throughout that first half?
Yeah.
Let's get into it, folks.
We're getting into it. It was a lot of walking.
And we're still walking.
That's mostly no, I'm just kidding. So we would wake up like a little before sunrise, because doing it in the fall, the day shortens every day, and eventually it got to be where like, yeah, we can keep going physically, but like we can only hike when there's light,
right?
You know, so we would get up like 6 or 6:30, depending on the point of the trip, kind of first light. Get up, make a quick breakfast, tear down camp, and then start hiking south. And there was 2 of us, and so I was my friend that went with me. I had a lot of experience doing outdoor stuff. He had basically none, and so I was always kind of faster with pretty much everything. So I would be ahead on the trail, and I would usually. Sometimes we'd hike together, but more often I would kind of be hiking ahead and stop after like a half hour or so, wait for him to catch up. We would like take a quick water break, maybe eat a snack or something, and then keep going and repeat. Maybe take a slightly longer rest in the middle of the day for like lunch or to like enjoy a scenic view or whatever, if we had time, given how many miles we were trying to do that day. Because, you know, you got to end at a campsite, and campsites are certain miles from each other. So you got to kind of plan that out a little bit. And then eventually we get to camp, set up camp, make dinner. which is just kind of like we used a lot of the like Knorr pasta size because it's just like you add water and then boom, you have rice.
Boom, just like that.
Boom. And then we would go to bed pretty much at sundown because it was like, what else are you gonna do?
Right.
And then like maybe listen to or read something, do first aid on our feet and stuff, and then go to bed and like be in bed for a long time, like 9-10-ish hours. But how much of that was actual like solid sleep kind of depends on the night. You know, you might not be the most comfortable and stuff. And yeah, but that was a pretty typical day on the SHT.
Now, in your journey, I think especially when you're like alone, when you were alone hiking, was there like that sense of like rest that you had of like, I'm just going to spend this time with the Lord, or solitude? Or were you more worried about like other things, like how far we have to go, how fast we need to be going, all these things?
I would love if it was the first, but it was really the second. No, and I think a large part of it was having somebody with me, and particularly somebody that like was like less experienced and a little slower than me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had kind of unconsciously expected a lot of sense of freedom on the trail. But I mean, we were camping together. We had common gear that we were like sharing and stuff. And so it's like, you know, I am tied to this person. I am dependent on them. They are dependent on me. And so, you know, I can't just, like, if I'm feeling good and I'm going, you know, faster, I can't just keep going.
See you in 20 miles.
You know, I mean, yeah, like I guess I could like go to like some campsite we predetermined, but like we still have to end the day together.
Right.
And also like, you know, one of the biggest benefits of having somebody out there with you is just safety. And you kind of lose that if you start, you know, introducing these huge mile gaps between yourselves.
Yeah.
And so I found myself worrying a lot about the logistics of like, okay, well, we're moving this fast. He's this far behind me. Are we going to get to this campsite? And how does that work with like getting to town by a certain day? Because if it had just been me, if I'm just doing as much as I can each day, that's kind of all I can do.
Right.
Right. But like, it was like, okay, well, you know, am I able to push him further? Is it like, I was worrying about a lot of stuff that really took me from left field. And that was a very like learning moment where I had to start really being like, tomorrow will worry about itself. And like, and like the rest of today will worry about itself. Like just, you know, all you're doing is hiking. Just be present in where you are right now. And it took me a surprisingly long time to try and learn that. And I mean, I was still like thinking about logistics towards the end, but because you always kind of have to. But yeah, I think having somebody with me definitely made it a lot harder to feel any real solitude and thus like kind of derive rest from that.
Hey friends, a quick pause to remind you that Between the Pages is a listener-supported podcast. Everything we do here at Boldly Seeking flows out of our mission to see revival start in us and spread into the world around us. If this podcast has encouraged you, you can come alongside the mission by giving, whether that's a one-time or monthly tax-deductible gift, or by checking out our store online using the link in the show notes. We just released our newest revival collection, which is a tangible way to wear the message we're living out together. However you choose to support, you're part of what God is doing through Boldly Seeking. Thanks for being here with us, and let's get back to the episode. At what point did things shift for you as far as kind of that, like, you know, today's going to worry about itself, like later on in the day, or tomorrow's going to worry about itself. So I'm going to just sit and be here and just one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. I think
or maybe it didn't.
No, there was definitely a turning point. I'm trying to think. I think it was after when I was in Tofty, which is south of Grand Marais, kind of the 10-day kind of mark. Before that, we had pretty terrible weather. It was wet. It was foggy. We were going up and down hills a lot, and you couldn't see any of the views because it was just a fog bank. And we were in a losing battle against the wetness and the cold and everything. And then the weather finally turned around after that, and I was able to like see the views and like kind of win that battle over the moisture, and kind of had a bit of a reset, and that allowed my mind state to kind of reset, and for me to really be like, okay, now that those things have kind of changed, turned around, reset, let's try to completely reset and focus on just being here and and enjoying it. Except I will say that my kind of goal, I kind of realized more so what it was halfway through. I was like, because it felt like I wasn't really enjoying the trail a whole lot. And I felt kind of bad about that, right? That I wasn't, going to these overlooks and like sitting there and enjoying it. I was like hiking, keep going. And eventually I had to be like, well, I've had plenty of other trips on the SHT where I've come to enjoy it. And I will again. This trip feels much more about conquering the trail than enjoying it, which is a different but still valid goal.
Right.
And so like that mental shift, I think really helped to like be present. Like it may suck, but this is like what I'm doing, and I'm succeeding at it.
Yeah.
Right. I may not be succeeding at enjoying the trail, but I am succeeding at conquering it. So
that's very different, like shift in mindset, because it's almost like you like this whole idea of like romanticizing this trip of like, oh, we're going to go to like Bean and Bear and like see all the colors, and it was foggy and rainy and not really colorful, and eventually you kind of got some colors as you got closer to town, and the weather was nice.
Yeah, and the Bean and Bear section actually was south of that bad weather. So that whole section was actually really nice.
Okay.
And like lots of colors and stuff. But yeah, that mental shift I think really helped in just being accurate in what I'm doing.
And so with that, you're on a trail in the middle of the woods. Like you had a group chat for the family, and it was like primarily used to be like, here I am. It was titled Troy is alive. So we knew once we got a text message, you were alive and here's your campsite location. So you weren't on your phone a lot. You weren't like, a lot of the noise of the world was gone. From a pattern of life where you're getting up, you're going to work, you're surrounded by work stuff, you're doing things with friends, you're constantly have your phone on and around, like all of this noise like is now being stripped away while you're on this trail. How did disconnecting from noise, maybe your phone or even people, reshape how you think about being present?
Yeah. It really did reshape how I thought about like rest in particular, and presence kind of goes along with that. Because I was thinking about it, and I didn't feel a lot of rest in the moment because I had my friend with me, and I felt that like dependency from him, right? And I felt like responsible for him, and he's a grown adult, he can handle himself, but like we're still
You're
linked and connected, right? We're a unit. But I did feel a lot of rest from like work finally, because I was just completely disconnected from it. And before I even went on the trip, I had to be like, okay, I need to come to terms with the fact that it's going to be fine. Even if I'm leaving stuff like in the middle, like the people around me at work are competent. Me leaving for a month is not going to like cause everything to explode and turn to ash, and I come back
you
to just a disaster. Well, that's true, but that's a little thing called faith. I have faith that everything is going to be absolutely fine. I'll have work to do,
right?
But like, not everything is going to implode without me.
And not everything at work depends on you being there.
Exactly. And I think this is the thing that we don't think about when it comes to rest, is we think about rest and we're like, okay, what am I going to do to rest? right? Like, oh, I want to do these things and whatever. But what we don't think about is what we need to remove in order to rest.
Okay, I love that. What we need to remove in order to rest.
Right? Because
So
we can
good.
rest physically, but if you're not resting like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then like you're missing out on like 3/4 of it.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of that I think revolves around what do we feel is dependent on us? Right? What do we feel like we are responsible for? It's going to fall apart if we're not doing stuff about it. Right. And like our phones, like you said, are a huge part of that. Right. They give people instant access to us. Right. We're like, oh, if I don't have my phone on me, how am I going to be able to respond in case somebody needs something? Or, oh, I'm going to miss something on social media or TikTok or whatever. Right. And we feel like we need that when actually we don't need that at all.
Hot take.
It's nice, but we don't need it. The world will continue revolving. Your life will continue going on and be fine without it for a day, you know,
Right.
or 3.5 weeks, right? Like I haven't been on social media. I haven't talked with my friends, but they're still going to be there. My friendships aren't going to be completely changed or whatever after not seeing them for 3.5 weeks. My friendships weren't completely ruined after going to France for 10 months.
Right.
Like it's like, and that is, I think, a lack of faith often causes us to not rest
Ooh. Yeah.
because we think it's all on us to keep our life going, to keep our little world we've constructed. To keep our little world we've constructed turning, you know?
And it comes down to that, like us controlling versus giving God control and being
Exactly.
like, God, I trust you with these aspects of my life. And like, especially even on the trail, God, I trust that you're going to help us to get where we need to go. And I trust that you're going to provide. And I trust the weather is going to change. And, you know, we talked about this in the last episode, y'all, with Esther. Like, God even provides for the birds. Like, the birds never have to worry where they're getting food from.
Yeah.
And God still provides. And just think of how much God provides when we do the same. And I think that is so beautiful to remember. Like, that lack of faith is what hinders us from being able to rest.
Right. And that's why I didn't find a lot of rest like in the moment on the trail, is because I still felt that dependency from my friend, that like I was responsible for him. I have to do things for him. And like I do, and that's important, but that made it difficult for me to like find rest. And I was thinking about it, and I really liked what Pastor Dave in episode 1 of this season was saying about the Wesleyan quadrilateral, about we can use that framework of scripture, church tradition, experience, and reason to deconstruct and reconstruct these kind of buzzwords and stuff. And so like taking a look at the scripture aspect of that, you know, the first time we hear about rest is in Genesis 2, right? When the Lord rests on the 7th day. Guys, do we really think the Lord needed to rest to like get his strength back? Right? Because that's why I always thought rest like is and like is for is to like rejuvenate ourselves, right? To like come back feeling, you know, cup is full, ready to go. And I think that is for us humans like a great benefit we can get from rest. But if God is giving us an example of rest and what it's for and how to do it, that's not the point of rest. God doesn't need, God is all, if we believe God is all powerful, here's the reason part. If we believe God is all powerful, then he doesn't need to rest to recoup his strength.
Snaps.
So why did God rest on the 7th day? And I would posit that on each of the other days, he makes his creation and see that it's good. And on the 7th day, he goes, I've done all that I need to. It's good. And like, it in a sense still relies on him, but like it is sufficient. It is good. It is complete. There's nothing more to be done. I don't need to do anything more for it. And thus I rest. Right. And we need to, us as people, when we're taking a look at our lives, we're not God, right? So things aren't just like perfectly good that we do forever, like without us. right? But that's where we trust God with that. We say, hey, God, for this day, like, I know that you're in control, that I am not required for this, right? I am not the one that holds my life together. You are, right? I'm not the one that keeps my world spinning, that maintains everything. You are in the end. And I trust you, right? And that's why I say that, like, not resting is kind of a lack of faith, because you feel like you're the one that has to keep doing it.
And I think we get a lot of that from, if we're taking how rest is defined in the world, like when rest comes up in like a very worldly cultural sense, a lot of it is looked at as being lazy and unproductive. And it's like, you could be doing X, Y, Z. Why are you sitting here resting? And it's almost, I think, frowned upon. And I sometimes am guilty of that, like I had mentioned earlier. And I oftentimes am like, I'm so busy, and then I get overwhelmed, and then I get stressed, and then I get sick, and then it's just like this whole cycle.
Yeah.
Not healthy whatsoever. We're working on it. We're working on it. But why do you think our culture views rest as lazy or unproductive? Like, where do you think that almost stems from? Or like, why does the world paint that picture?
Yeah, I think here's maybe another hot take, because that kind of correlates with what I've been saying. We like to feel important. And rest means, if I'm resting, it means I'm not important. Right? I'm not needed in that moment. But we love to be needed.
Yes.
We love to be needed by our work, by our friends, by our family, right? By our social media accounts. We love to be needed and feel important. And thus we don't rest. We find ways to fill our time, right? And we say that it's like, for these other people, but I feel like that's where the introspection needs to happen of like, why am I actually doing all this stuff?
Like, who is it even benefiting?
Yeah, like who is it for? Is it just to make me feel important, or is it for some other reason? And so I think culture often, and I will say, I think there's a shift happening, right, with the self-care and everything. Like, I think people are valuing a type of rest, but I still don't think the common culture understands like what is or what it's for, because I think now we're like, ooh, okay, how am I going to like use my rest? Like, what am I going to do? Am I going to go on a hike with my Bible and journal a bit and then go get coffee with a friend? Okay, let me plan that all out. I don't think that's resting, right? Because now you're like, okay, like, I'm going to be cultivating my friendship here, and I'm going to be like doing good things for my spiritual walk, right? And like we're setting up all this stuff that like, it's kind of like, oh, but it's like the fun things, or the like not have to do.
Or I saw everyone else on social media do it, so I'm going to do it because that's what rest is. Like, and that's how rest has been defined. Not to say going on a hike with your Bible is a bad thing.
No, it's a great thing.
But what is your intention behind doing it?
Yeah. And so that's why like I was thinking about it, I was like, we truly need to, like, the Israelites, when they practiced Sabbath, like they ended up making a bunch of rules to try and define what it means to rest. A lot of that was like, not cooking on the Sabbath. So you had to like, which might actually be in the commandment, I'm not sure. But so they would do all their cooking like on Saturday, so they wouldn't have to, cook, or sorry, they would do all their cooking on the day before. The Israelite Sabbath was on Saturday. And so then they wouldn't cook at all on that day. And they would do a bunch of other stuff. And I think the point was not to like not have to do that work on the Sabbath, but that your family that you provide for is not being dependent on you during the Sabbath to do the cooking. It's there, it's done, they can eat whatever, but they're not being actively dependent on you on that day to provide for them, right? You're temporarily removing that dependency.
It'd be like, y'all can just figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
And I did my part.
And so like when we plan all these things to do like during our Sabbath time, right, we're still, it's so easy to still fall into, I'm just serving these things that feel dependent on me, even if it's my own spiritual walk or whatever. And so I think, and again, we're all learning here. I'm learning. Clearly, I've had struggles with rest even in the past 3.5 weeks. But I would venture to say that we need to protect the time and really avoid the temptation to plan anything for the time that we devote to rest. I think once you get into that time, if something happens, that's great. And then you can be kind of spontaneous and like, I can believe like doing things can be restful, right? Like playing board games or going on a hike or whatever can be restful. But if you're planning all of that ahead of time and scheduling that, how does that look any different than normal everyday life?
That's really good. Because I feel like, yes, I'm not going to comment on any of that because it's beautiful. And I think sometimes for me, I am guilty of that where I'm like, oh, I have a quote unquote rest day on Saturday. I'm going to plan XYZ. I'm going to go to a coffee shop. I'm going to do this.
And it's so easy.
And I'm thinking it's rest. Meanwhile, Saturday, I was like, I had all these plans and I was like, you know what? Not today. I'm just going to do whatever I feel
right,
like
because if you make those plans and then you get to that day and you decide not to do them, then you feel guilty for not doing it.
And I did feel a little bit guilty.
Right?
And I was like, yes.
Because you just let down that thing you feel that dependency from, Which
was more trying to show up for everyone else.
Yeah.
And not try to just show up for me and do what my body wanted, which was to watch 2 movies and sleep for an hour.
There you go.
Which was great.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to look at here is we're deconstructing rest, reconstructing this idea through your journey is I want to look at the life of Jesus. And, you talked a little bit about Genesis 2 and then the Israelites. But I think there's so many times in scripture where we see Jesus resting, whether that's passively or actively. In your life with Jesus and in your time in scripture and in your experiences with the Lord, what would you say are some of those like big moments that have stuck with you as far as the way Jesus modeled rest? And how does that look differently than how we live rest today? That was really weirdly worded, but you're my brother, so
I'm working on it.
You're gonna take what I just spewed out, and you're going to make it make sense in your head and spew it back to me.
I know. I think the story that has actually stuck out the most to me as I've been thinking about this is because I feel like 2 of the things Jesus actually pushed back against religiously in the New Testament was the idea of cleanliness and the idea of Sabbath and all the like extra rules around it, right? Because there's a story of Jesus and his disciples walking through a wheat field, and the disciples are hungry, and Jesus tells them to like take the like heads of grain and eat them, which doing that kind of thing, like peeling off the like shells of the grain or whatever, was considered work. And Jesus was like confronted with that by the Pharisees and the teachers of the law. I forget Jesus' exact response, but as with a lot of things with like the idea of cleanliness and Sabbath, he's like, it's not the point. It's not the point of the Sabbath to like literally follow all these rules, which you guys made up, by the way, based on the commandment. And so then it leaves us asking, well, then what is the point of Sabbath, right? If it's not to like literally avoid doing the work, right? That's like us focusing on the physical aspect.
Right.
Right. If that's not the point, what is the point? And I think in that story, it's showing that the disciples were not worried about how they were going to eat, right? Like nobody had done the cooking the previous day for them, right? They were like walking through a field. They trusted Jesus, who was with them, to provide for them and their need. And then he did. And it involved them doing like a tiny bit of physical work, right? Which means that like it's fine to do that on the Sabbath,
right.
But it's about the like mental and spiritual aspect of trusting that God's got it, right?
Mm-hmm. That's really, really good. How are there any other stories that maybe stuck out to you of Jesus resting and like being like, if this happened in the real world, people would think this person's crazy?
Yeah, I think, well, I remember a episode from last season with you and Jenny talking about, I think you talked about Jesus sleeping in the boat.
Oh, yes.
During the storm, Jesus literally physically resting.
In the middle of chaos.
Yeah, in the middle of chaos, right? And Jesus in that moment is showing faith in God the Father that he's going to be protected, right? Like, I mean, we can speculate whether or not Jesus knew he was sleeping in a storm or not, but either way, he had complete and utter faith that everything was going to be fine without him. Right? And he even rebukes the disciples when the disciples think that they need him in that moment. Ooh. Right? And like, it's a little different because Jesus is God. So like he is needed, but at the same time, like the disciples had to have faith that like, you know, God was going to handle it and like they're going to be fine. And, you know, we might not always like be in like a, you know, stormy season of life and be resting in that. But the point remains, you know, like Jesus completely trusted the Father and like trusted that like he was not needed in that moment to deal with that crisis. We have to do the same. And
I think that it perfectly ties back into what you were saying of how sometimes we want to feel like we're needed and important. And it's like, if Jesus, who was like the most important guy like in all of
he's
humanity.
Like, I'm not needed right now.
He's like, I'm not needed. God's got this. It's like, if Jesus can do that with the Father, why can we not do that?
Yeah.
Like that just
I'm
like
not
baffles
needed.
me.
That's for sure.
Right. Like work doesn't need you. You just like hightailed it out of there for 3.5 weeks. And you're like, y'all got this. You don't need me. And I think that's, you know, taking that audit of your life and to be like, what are those things that I feel like I am just creating this like important stand that I have to sit on. Like I have to work 10 hours a day because I am needed because my executives need me to do their job. No, I'm hired to work from 8 to 4:30. And I am like, no one's life is dependent on me being there at 4:31. Yeah. It can wait until 8:01 the next day.
Yeah.
And like, I just look at that picture of like, if Jesus, who's most important, can trust the Father, why can we not do the same?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is like a real reason why I think solitude and meditation are actually very closely tied with rest. Solitude because of the things I've already said, right? If you're not alone, then somebody's with you, and that usually means you feel that they are dependent on you, right? And you have to like serve that, right? And be important to them and everything. So I think solitude is important. And then I would say meditation in order to identify those things that you feel are holding on to you, right? To be mindful of like, okay, I'm going to sit here at the beginning of my Sabbath and try to, you know, kind of inventory process and let go of these things that my mind is still, you know, I'm here, but my mind might still be over there.
Right. Or you're like, I'm going to try to be in meditation. And then you hear your phone buzz and you're like, well, now who needs me? Y'all put your phone in the other room. So we've talked a lot about, you know, where do we see rest in scripture? You know, the history of Sabbath, working, you know, all of these things. In your personal experience now, hiking, you know, 3.5 weeks, you're taking away a lot of distractions. You're sitting with a lot of feelings. And you're sitting with almost like, I feel like this is maybe like a post-hiking therapy session maybe. Because, I told him I wasn't going to ask him any questions until the podcast episode. So I've been holding back a lot of these questions for the last 24.
The floodgates are open.
Yeah. There's
no tell-all.
You're stuck in this chair. Truly, the hiking stories tell all. So how has your definition of rest changed since finishing the trail 24 hours ago, but maybe since you started this journey versus now ending this journey?
Yeah.
And heading back into real life.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is more about the Lord than it is about me now, right? Like rest feels such a about me thing, right? Oh, this rest will serve me, rejuvenate me, whatever. But really, I mean, the Bible describes it as a Sabbath to the Lord, right? A Sabbath to the Lord is a form of like worship,
Yeah.
right? To the Lord. It's saying, Lord, I trust and have faith that you are in control, that you will sustain and maintain and comfort us. And so like, I will trust that I only have to work, 6 days instead of all 7, right? Like, what was that command given so that people, could get like, rejuvenated and not like work themselves too hard to where they get hurt? Maybe. I think that's part of it, but I think more so it's to remind people, hey, like, leave room for faith in God to provide, right? Don't be working 7 days a week because you're like, idolizing that money or idolizing your place in providing for yourself or your family. Trust that God is going to do that. And that looks different for a lot of people, right? Like I do not like have kids, for an example, right? And I imagine that is much more difficult to kind of temporarily sever those dependencies when you have a child, right? But that's where hopefully, the support structure of you and your partner come in so that you can kind of provide that space for each other. And so, yeah, I think it has changed a lot to focus more on God and be much more of a mental thing. And I actually looked this up, going back to the Wesleyan quadrilateral, which I'm kind of obsessed with now.
You think bastard
the church tradition part. This is from the Westminster Confession of Faith.
Okay.
So this is a very like kind of like historical proclamation of what we believe, and this is about Sabbath. This is in the like 8th paragraph or whatever. You can look it up. But it says, the Sabbath is then kept holy unto the Lord when men, after due preparing of their hearts and ordering of their common affairs beforehand, do not only observe a holy rest all the day from their own works, words, and thoughts about their worldly employments and recreations, but also are taken up the whole time in the public and private exercises of his worship and in the duties of necessity and mercy. Yeah, it's quite the mouthful, but the things that stood out to me are that it's not about just the physical rest, but about the words and the thoughts we have, right? Like, where is my mind? What is it tied to? And also, like, recreations often get in the way of Sabbath.
All those plans.
Yeah. Well, and I even learned, like, this was way before the hike, but I was thinking about Sabbath a few years ago, and, I play D&D and other board games and stuff with my friends on Sundays. And I was like, oh, like that'll be a fine thing to have on my Sabbath because I enjoy doing that. And I had to realize, I was like, this is fun, but it's not really restful. Like, it's still a plan, it's still a schedule. I usually have to do preparations for it. Like, it's super fun. I enjoy it, but it's not always restful because it is like a pre-planned kind of thing. And so I've had to
it requires more of your energy and attention to even participate in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think it is a lot of, the mental worshiping God and like really making a space where I have nothing planned. Not to say that I don't do anything necessarily, but if I don't do anything, that's completely okay. Right? Like that's kind of confronting the like, lazy view of rest that some people have. It's like, you need to be okay if you have your Sabbath period or your rest period or whatever and don't do anything. That's completely fine. And if you do something, that's fine too, as long as it is, not something you're doing out of a sense of like dependency or self-need.
And for those of you, and I was thinking about that while you were talking, I was like, for those of you who are like me, who are like, I'm just too busy to rest, who's like, I've been trying.
Ye of little faith is what I would say.
And that was one of the questions I had on the list. What would you say to someone who was like that? Ye of little faith. But, it goes back to what we were saying. But when you're leaving that space to do nothing, to fight the urge to plan something, to be like, oh, this is spontaneous. No, it's because you're uncomfortable with doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it is a very difficult thing to do.
Yes.
I love to plan out my time.
And I
right?
just love people. I love to see friends. I'm like, great,
right.
a free time.
It's like, it would be difficult to like, if a friend is like, hey, you want to go out for coffee at this time? And it's like during my rest period, it'd be very difficult for me to say no, right? If we're planning that ahead of time. And I'm not, again, you can do stuff during your rest time, including going out for coffee with someone or whatever. But I would challenge us to leave that for the actual time, to be present in that moment. I think a way to help with that is to block out that time, say, blanket statement, I'm not going to plan to do anything, whether that's personal or with someone, right? I'm not even going to plan to like read my Bible or whatever. The only thing I will plan is, at least for the first like 5 minutes, sit there, pray, meditate, kind of try to flush my brain of the things that feel dependent on me, that where like I am putting myself on a pedestal of need and importance. And then from that point, if I feel like doing something, I can do it. I can reach out to a friend and see if they're free for coffee during that moment. And that's okay, because it's not dependent on me.
Right. And you never know when that, especially if you take that first 5 to 15 minutes in prayer and meditation and just silence, there might be a name that, the Lord comes to mind, and you're like, oh, like,
yeah,
I just want to like go grab coffee with that person. Just check in.
Yeah.
See how they're doing. Like, you never know what could come of those.
Yeah. And then you can work on your hobbies, but that way you won't feel like, oh, well, I've scheduled this time to do my hobby, so now if I don't do it, then I'm losing this part of me.
Y'all, my favorite thing right now is paint by numbers.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Right. And so if you're like, okay, well, my rest night is this night, and so, I'll do my paint by numbers because I haven't done that all week. Right. And then you get there and you're like, oh, I have to do my paint by numbers now because this is a hobby I enjoy. And if I don't do it, then does that mean I really enjoy it? Is that really part of me? Like, it just brings up so much stuff. And so just like removing the planning of it. And then if you get there and you're completely empty and you're sitting there and you're like, yeah, I feel like doing my paint by numbers. That's great. That's fantastic.
Do your paint by numbers.
Do your paint by numbers, Rebecca.
I'm such a grandma. So, you had a great point, Troy, of something that you might take into your daily life, going back into this new reality, almost in a way of understanding more of what does rest look like, and how, before your trip, rest was kind of like more, here's my time, and maybe making some plans and who knows what else. But now coming to this whole, like, what? I'm going to take Thursday evening and we're just going to see what happens. What, maybe that is something you're going to take with you. But is there anything like maybe practice-wise or things that you've learned on your trip and experience that you want to bring back with you as you almost integrate back into daily life? Like, your daily life is gonna look a lot different here in 4 days.
Yes. Yes, it will.
You're gonna have to wear dress clothes again.
Yeah, I think one thing I did on the trail, which was actually nice for me and was kind of meditative in a way, was I actually was keeping a journal. Which I'm not a big journaler normally, but I didn't keep one in France and kind of regretted it. I don't regret it too much, but a little bit. But I was like, I want to like keep notes on the hike each day. And it wasn't like a big, long, like big flowing sentences in whatever journal.
Yo, this was a tiny journal.
It is like this big. I think I have it in my jacket over there. But it was much more like field notes. It was very short, punchy sentences. And like oftentimes I would like write a few thoughts down and then just sit there and be like, what comes to mind about what's been important today? And it could just be like some wild thing, like I saw this random bird, or like my foot hurts today, right? Like, but like anything I would think of, I would just quick write down. And then like my brain would be empty again. I'd have to like think to see, is there anything else in there rattling around, right? Because not a whole lot happens when you're just hiking through the forest. Hopefully not a whole lot. If a lot is happening, usually something's wrong. But yeah, and that really reminded me of this idea of centering prayer, which is something I've done before, is a kind of type of meditative prayer where usually you sit in silence and solitude for could be 5 minutes, could be 20 minutes, could be somewhere in between, but like more than just a couple minutes. And you usually pick a centering word, whether it's Jesus or grace or just something. It doesn't really matter. And the point is not really to think about the word, but the word is meant to bring you back out of thoughts that come up in your mind. And so you sit there and try to, you say the word to yourself or think the word to yourself a couple times maybe. And if you start thinking about something, to not push it away, but to instead acknowledge that it's there, right? Like writing it down in my notebook and then letting it pass over me as I've acknowledged it. I've maybe written it down. So I kind of want to try writing it down more, the things that come to mind, and then let it leave, right? And if you need help letting it leave, that's what the centering word's for, right? To bring you kind of back in line. It's like if you kind of like waver from a line and come back. And I remember doing this a lot in France, and you're constantly doing that the first few times you do it, because your brain is just so full of thoughts all the time. So much is there. But if you stick with it, even just a couple times, you start to get much faster at getting a truly just like, I'm here in this moment. No other thoughts are clouding me. And so I think starting my period of rest with something like that, and maybe even writing them down, I'm very curious to try, is something I think I will take away as something I want to pursue, because I think that'd be a really great way to enter that period of rest in the right mental, physical, and spiritual place.
Ooh, that's good. It's really good.
Thanks, I try.
I know.
I had 3.5 weeks to think about it. So.
You did. Okay, I want to know, if you could summarize the trail in one word, what would it be? Or your experience?
Roots.
Roots.
There's a lot of tree roots on the trail. The SHT is well known as being very rocky and very rooty. It will twist your ankle in a heartbeat if you let it.
This is why I did not go, because I have very weak ankles.
Yeah, my ankles have been built up over time.
I think I twisted an ankle.
Neither of us sprained an ankle. It was pretty impressive. But
I would have probably day 2.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the first word that came to mind to describe the whole trail. It was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done.
But you sure dang did it.
I sure dang did it. It was also one of the more instructive things I've ever done. I definitely learned a lot about myself, my needs, my wants. Learned a lot about like what I think about rest, since you prompted me and I was thinking about it while I was out there. And y'all, nature's beautiful. There was some beautiful, beautiful stuff out there that God made for us to look at. Get outside.
Get outside.
Get outside.
And with that, okay, so 2 final questions. One, we unpacked a lot, and I feel like this episode could go 2 hours.
I know, I'm just spilling right now.
It is so good.
I've only talked with Graham, my friend, for 3.5 weeks.
Right, you're like, wow, human interaction. Here we are. Okay. Is there anything else in your experience on the topic of rest that you're like, oh, we didn't talk about this, but I have to get this off my chest because it was so eye-opening or challenging while I was thinking about rest and Sabbath? And maybe not. Maybe we covered all your hot takes.
Yeah, I definitely tried to get a lot out there.
Y'all might have to listen to this one back again, because there's a lot of good things. I'm going to have to listen
to this back again just to get my thoughts in order. I think.
Or something you want to reemphasize.
Yeah, I think it really is the dependency stuff. Like the only times I really felt real full rest on the trail, not just from work, but from everything in that moment, was either the rest days in town that we set aside to not hike, but simply to recover. And I didn't have to do anything that day. Graham wasn't doing anything that day. And so I could truly just be and do what I wanted. Plan. Right. Yeah. Have no plans. And two, yeah, that idea of what do I feel is dependent on me, and how can I remember that it's not me, it's God. Right. And people do need us, right? Like the good, I want to say, here's what I want to say at the end. Like the Good Samaritan teaches us to not avoid helping people or doing things because of some spiritual law or whatever, right? Like that was the whole cleanliness thing of like, oh, I don't want to, help you because like I'll be unclean after that, right? Like we shouldn't allow our idea of rest to be like, no, sorry, I can't help you with that thing because like, I'm in my period of rest. Like if something comes up during your rest period, like, yeah, it's fine. Again, it's not so important to you. You're not so important that something interrupting your rest period is going to destroy everything, right? It's remembering your place and God's place. And that's what Sabbath is for.
That's good. That's so good. Okay, my second question.
Oh, yeah, that was only the first.
That was only the first. Okay, what is one challenge that you would want to leave people in our community with to focus on this next week, maybe 2 weeks in terms of rest?
Yeah. I will not challenge you to rest. Surprise, surprise.
Ooh.
Full of left curves. Instead, I would challenge people to, and I want to do this too, write a list of the things you feel are dependent on you.
Yeah.
And then you can look at that list and look at each thing and be like, how important am I actually to this thing? Right? And is it going to survive one afternoon without me? Because I bet you pretty much everything on that list will. Maybe not a kid. Talk with your partner. If you have a kid, figure it out. But like, man, guys, God's got it.
Amen to that. Amen. And I will echo that because I need to look at that too and make my list of seeing what are things that really I can take off for an afternoon and do literally nothing. I can go leafing. Apparently that's the term now these days.
Leafing? Going to see the colors?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, I did quite a bit of that, so I've had enough leafing for a while.
You're like, maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
Well, friends, you might not hike 300 miles, but maybe your soul is craving the same thing, a pause to breathe, listen, and be with God. And I hope this episode encourages you to do that. Troy, thank you for being on the podcast finally after 3 seasons. It was so fun to debrief your experience, talk about rest. Y'all, this is like what our conversations are most of the time. Like we just get into these like, let's talk about these theological topics, or we'll talk about something super stupid. Like,
oh, yeah.
I don't even know, but something that's probably
bonus episode where we just talk about stupid stuff.
National treasure. Sometimes we'll talk about that for an hour. But thank you for being on. It was so special to have you on here.
Super fun.
Friends, y'all know the drill. As always, we are a listener-supported podcast, and so we want to encourage you, if you like this episode, if you were encouraged by it, to go like, subscribe, rate, leave a comment. We want to interact with you on all of the different channels. You can find us over on Instagram and Facebook, as well as our website. Make sure to get connected in with our community as we continue to evolve, as we continue to grow and seek after Jesus with a bold faith. It is so fun to see how God is going to continue to move this this ministry through the next year. And we're so excited as a team to do that with you. Some ways that you can partner with us, as always, we do have our donation page up on our website. If you want to give a one-time or monthly gift, all of that goes directly to the podcast, to the ministry. We cannot do any of this without you. So it is with your generosity that we are able to spread the good news this way to all of our other community members and those beyond. We also do have our merch store. Our revival collection is still live. We also still have our original series, our Be Bold series, still up on the website as well. So make sure to go grab that. Tag us if you did order something. We'd love to see you rep your bold faith in the places and spaces that God has you. So thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you back in a couple of weeks. Thanks for spending time with us here on the Between the Pages podcast. At Boldly Seeking, our heart is to help you live out your faith with courage, to step boldly into the places God is calling you to, and to remember you're never walking this journey alone. If you've been encouraged by today's conversation, would you take a moment to share this episode with a friend, leave a rating or review, and join the Boldly Seeking community? You can connect with us on Instagram and Facebook to explore more resources or support the mission through giving or our store, all at boldlyseeking.online. Until next time, keep boldly seeking Jesus in your story, in your community, and in the world.